Welcome to our wonderful series on Pirkei Avot. We're still on chapter 3 just about. We're about to start Mishna 20, and we will dedicate this episode very respectfully, of course, to Levy ben Moshe Esther, and also Elishev ben Levy, and additionally in memory of Binyamin ben Moshe Esther. Okay? I'm going to hand you over to Mr. Michael Kalati. B'chavod.
Thank you very much. So in this Mishnah by Rabbi Akiva, he is proposing an interesting concept that has many aspects to it. So let's start. Hu haya omer. He used to say, "Hakol natun ba'eravon." Everything is given on pledge. Umatsuda purusha al kol hachayim, and the net is spread for all the living. Hachanut ptucha, the shop is open. V'hachanavani makif, and the shopkeeper allows credit. V'hapinalkos patuach, and the ledger is open. V'hayad koteves, and the hand writes. And whoever wishes to borrow may come and borrow. V'hagabaim machazrin tadir b'chol yom v'niftanarim min ha'adam. But the collectors do regularly make their rounds every day, and exact payment from man, mida'ato or shalom mida'ato, whether he is aware of it or not. V'yesh lahem al ma sheyismachu, and they have on what to rely. V'hadin din emet v'hakol mutukan l'seuda. The judgment is a judgment of truth, and everything is prepared for the banquet. So Rabbi Akiva is giving us the kind of story of life. From all aspects. He is saying that you're born into this world and everything you want you can have. Credit is offered to you and you can take what you want, but bear in mind that you're responsible to repay for what you've taken, and what you do has consequences. But this can be looked at from bad and good sides, as we'll explain soon. Now, I want to give Rambam's commentary first. So, Rambam says on this Mishnah, the shopkeeper grants credit, one who gives much time with the debt and does not request it immediately. And this parable is clear and its intention is known. And that which he said, and everyone who wants to borrow can come and borrow, strengthens the earlier matter that there is no necessity or forcing actions, but with free choice does a man do what he wants to do. And his saying, and the collectors go constantly, is a metaphor for death and other punishments that come to man. So that's Rambam's commentary on this.
Very interesting. If I can just interrupt you there, I saw something interesting in a sefer from the Chafetz Chaim. He brings an analogy, because it says over here, like you just mentioned, Michael, you said hechanut ptucha v'hechanvani makif. The shop is open and the merchant gives credit. Now there's different opinions as to who the merchant is, but here we're going to take it in the probably the most commonly accepted pshat, and that is the merchant is HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So the Chafetz Chaim gives the following analogy to explain this. He says there's a fellow who's walking in the street. Let's give him a name. Let's call him Chaim. Chaim's walking in the street, and Chaim is approached by this man who says to him, "Hey, how you doing, man? I haven't seen you for ages. What's news?" And Chaim's looking at this man who's just accosted him, and he doesn't recognize him. He's racking his brains. Where do I know him from? He said, "Chaim, I can't believe it's such an amazing thing that I've bumped into you. It's been years. It's really been years. What have you been up to? Do you remember the old days?" And Chaim is bewildered. They've got no idea. He's racking his brain. Where? But maybe I knew him from when I was a kid. I got no idea. And he's trying to look politely at this guy, and says, "Yeah, I'm okay." But he doesn't know what to do. How's he going to get out of it? How's he going to explain that he doesn't know the guy? In the end, the guy says, "Look, you know, Chaim, we can stand here and talk in the street for ages, but you know what? Why don't we just go to a restaurant? Come, look, I'll treat you. Have you eaten lunch?" Chaim says, "No." He goes, "Come, I'll treat you to lunch. Come, let's go to a nice restaurant." So Chaim thinks, look, if he's offering me a meal, I'll remember him, right? I'll have to think where I remember him from. Okay, so they both go to this big, swanky restaurant, and the stranger says to Chaim, "You know, get the menu. Everything's on me. Order whatever you want." So Chaim's thinking, wow, listen, I don't know, he must have been a good friend of mine. Nobody does this to me ever. It's fine. So they ordered for the menu, and Chaim is like, "You sure?" He goes, "Yeah, don't worry, come on, I'm so overjoyed to see you." So they order everything. They have aperitif, like hors d'oeuvres, have a main course, and the soup as well, and they go through the dessert, and they're having a glass of wine at the end of the meal, and Chaim still doesn't know. Chaim's just basically playing along with it, and the stranger's like, "Oh, you know what? It's so amazing that I bumped into you. You know, isn't it incredible?" And then the stranger says to Chaim, "Okay, you know what? Just before we go, I just need to pop out for a second. Maybe get the bill, and I'll settle it when I come out." Fine. Okay, so he goes off. Chaim presumes he's gone to the bathroom, and he waits there a few minutes, and the waiter comes over. He goes, "Would you like the bill?" He goes, yeah, just bring the bill. My friend is just going to settle it in a minute. Okay, so he brings the bill, and Chaim looks at the bill. Oh, it's a pretty big bill. Okay, anyway, so he's waiting for his friend, his secret friend, to come out of the bathroom or wherever he is. Maybe he's making a phone call, and he's waiting. And 5, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, the waiter comes back. Is everything all right, sir? He goes, yeah, I'm just waiting for my friend. I don't know. I'm not sure why he's taking his time. He's waiting. In the end, the waiter comes back a third time, and he says, "I don't think your friend's coming back." And Chaim says, "What do you mean? He told me he's coming. He must have gone to the bathroom." So they go to the bathroom. He's nowhere to be seen. He's fled his history. And now Chaim is sitting in this restaurant. He's not a man of means, and he's just ordered this massive meal for 2 people, and now he's got to pick up the tab. And the waiter says, "Here's the bill. Now it's you. You have to pay for this bill." Now Chaim's thinking, what can I do? I can't run for it. I've got no choice. Says the Chofetz Chaim, this is what it means when it says the shop is open. The shop is the world, says the Chofetz Chaim. The merchant is giving credit. That's HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We are in this world, we're doing Aveira after Aveira after Aveira, and we're like, yeah, it's okay, it's fine, we've got a tab. Because the Yetzer Hara comes to us and says, don't worry about it, it's fine. Just look at the menu, there's loads of Aveiras here, pick what you want, it's fine. Look. And we think we get this false sense of security. We're not getting struck by a thunderbolt. But Hashem is giving us credit. He's waiting for us to do tshuva. And at the end, after 120 years plus VAT, when we get called up to Shamayim, Hashem says, look, there's a bill here. You racked up the bill. I was very patient with you. But somebody's got to pay for it. It's got to be you. That's the frightening pshat that the Chofetz Chaim brings about this part of the Mishnah. And it shows, a person does have a Hashem is patient with us, but doesn't excuse us from doing teshuvah. We can't leave this world without doing teshuvah. A person has to think every single day he has to do teshuvah. Why? Because we are told do teshuvah at the last day of your life. But we don't know which day is going to be the last day of our life. We hope, we bless each other. We live to 120, but life is short. And we don't know, so we are supposed to do tshuva every single day. We don't want to get to that situation when Hashem has given us a credit and He hands us a big, fat bill. Over to you, Michael.
Well, that's very correct. And also, Hashem is perfect in justice. So if we do make bad choices, even though we're given the freedom of choice to choose, he has to execute judgment, perfect judgment, which means that he has to send his agents to collect, as it says in the Mishna, and they will collect, regardless of what you think or how sorry you are. They have to extract payment. So if you're doing something bad, expect the collectors, as so-called agents, to come and make their collections. You may not like what they're doing. You may not like the results of what your deeds or misdeeds have provoked, but you have to accept them because Hashem is perfect justice and all his judgments are true and correct. So what is it that we are? What is it that we are taking from Hashem? We learn in Ashrei, which is opens Hashem's hand and satisfies the desire of every living being. And what is it that opens his hands? It's Chai Ratzon, living desire of us, of his children, so to speak. So his hand will always open, and it will. All we have to do is desire or need something, and Hashem creates a possibility and the means for granting this wish that we have from him. So, how do we repay Hashem? We repay Hashem with good deeds, perfection of character, sanctity of our souls, merititious actions, and worthwhile projects, Torah projects. That these are the currency that he deals in. This is the payment that he wishes to take from us. So let's perhaps look at this a little bit differently. When we are acting badly, we have to expect that the agents that are coming to collect us are bad and they are going to punish us, and we have to accept what we do. We have the freedom of choice. We can run amok in this store of Hashem, the world, but we've got to be careful what we do. We just consider what we're doing. So reflection and consideration is important before we take anything on credit. Are we going to be able to pay for this? Is this something that I need or I don't need? Or is it no good for me? So you've got to consider all of these sort of things. So, but you can also look at this. You know, when I first read this Mishnah, I was thinking to myself, it sounds very harsh. You know, we're born into this world. We're not necessarily, we don't have the choice. We didn't choose to be born, but we were placed in this department store, so to speak, of goodies, and we're told, take stuff, you're going to have to pay for it. You know, it would seem that this would be a bit unfair, you know. It's like it's been forced on me from birth, this debt, right? But if you look at it from a different point of view, look at we know that Hashem tells us that we are his children. So look at the relationship between a child, an infant, and its parent, its mother or father. When it's born, it costs the parents a tremendous amount of energy and actual fiscal measures to buy nappies, to
diapers. You have to mention the American translation.
Diapers, to put the kids through school, their education. It costs a tremendous amount of money. And the parents obviously has to incur the cost, but it's not going to demand repayment when the kid turns 18 or whatever. That would be
shame
cruel.
We can't do that, you know.
Yeah,
we get to sign a standing order and pay all back.
Get a paper round.
Yeah.
No. So what does a parent, like a parent with a child, as I'm sure many are listening, what do they expect as payments, as repayment? When perhaps you see your very, very young child starts to show a bit of character, for example, a good deed. If you see your child playing with another child, and perhaps they're eating ice cream, and the other child drops his ice cream, and immediately the first thought of your child is, to share or give his ice cream or her ice cream to the other crying child, you would look at that from afar and say, you know what, I brought that kid up right. I feel as if I've done my job right. I don't care. All those sleepless nights I had, all of the hassle that I had from this kid, it's all worth it.
Yeah.
And you look at the child and feel as if you've been repaid, all your hard work has been repaid, because as a reflection, Hashem looks at you as a child and also wants the child to be a reflection of its own value, of Hashem's values. So when he sees the sparks of the reflection, you feel as if you're being repaid. That's why perhaps it says in the Mishna, sometimes you don't know. It says the collectors do regularly make their rounds every day, an exact payment for a man, whether he is aware of it or not.
Wow.
The child is not necessarily aware that the parent was watching at that split moment and noticed the kid gain some moral showing, like showed a moral side to him. And the parent perhaps didn't even mention it to him, and maybe the kid didn't even know that the parent saw him.
Yeah.
But the parent that memory will stay with the parent for many, many years as a kind of vindication of all the work that went in to bringing the child up in the correct way.
That's so beautiful.
So
beautiful.
So you can look at this Mishnah in two ways.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be as authoritarian as a credit line. It can be a beautiful symbiotic relationship where Hashem is regarding us as his children, invests in us, but is repaid in ways that we don't see, and is repaid at times that we don't expect either. So it talks about also a net is spread for all the living. This is very interesting. We have to realize that we're all in one big boat in this planet, in this world. But I want to bring, I'll go into that in a second, but I want to bring a quote from Mishna. King Solomon said in Mishna 9:12, "And neither does man know his time." I'm talking about this living net. Like fish that are caught up in a bad net, and like birds that are caught in a snare, so are the sons of man entrapped at an evil time, when it suddenly falls upon them. So we have to realize that a net is spread over all of us, over all Bnei Israel, and indeed of the whole world. So we have to be careful. We have to preserve Hashem's world. He didn't intend for us to pollute the seas with plastic, neither pump the atmosphere full of noxious and harmful gases. So Shlomo HaMelech is warning us, a net is spread, and whatever is snared in that net will affect you one day when you least expect it. So this is a warning to be careful of our actions. When it talks about, in the final statement, it says and everything is prepared for the banquet. Both Rav Chaim of Volodyin and Rambam compare this to the world to come, this banquet in the world to come. So, as we are, as it is also said, this banquet, it talks about in the Talmud says, one who has toiled on the day before Sabbath will eat on Sabbath. This is, I think, in Avodah Zorah 3a. So everything is prepared for the banquet. So our job is to toil during the week so that the banquet, the Shabbos, so to speak, will be plentiful for us. And also, everything is given on a pledge, be'aravon. This is interesting because the word aravon can also mean a kind of endorsement or guarantee.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have to consider ourselves to be guarantees of each other. So we must be careful to teach our fellow Jew and fellow person, and we must chastise when we see someone doing something wrong, because we are all guarantors of each other and we are responsible for each other. No man is an island in this world, especially in Bnei Israel. It's an interesting, I think it's a midrash that talks about a sea journey, passengers on a sea journey, and they were sailing on the high seas, and one man decided to take a drill and drill a hole underneath his seat. And the rest of the passengers are looking at him like he's crazy. They start shouting, and what the hell are you doing? What are you doing? Stop drilling a hole. He goes, what's your problem? I'm drilling a hole under my seat.
Yeah. I paid for the seat.
Yeah, I paid for the seat, exactly. So this is very important to understand. That everything is given as a guarantee or through guarantees or guarantors. So another interesting little story as regards this concept of agents. Like you said earlier, there's a little bit of controversy over who is the shopkeeper and who are the agents.
Yeah.
Some people talk of the agents being Satan, like the Satan or these whatever it is come and collect payments, especially if you're bad, or most likely if you're bad. But there's a story told of a Jew who each year before Pesach would make the rounds collecting charity from various people to provide the poor with matzahs and other Passover provisions. Every year he would visit the home of a very rich but very miserly man who on every occasion refused to give anything. One year after his usual refusal, the miser said to him, I can't understand you. You've been coming here for 21 years to ask for money, and for 21 years I've refused you, and you still come. You look like an intelligent person. Don't you realise by now this is a futile endeavour? So the charity collector, cheerfully replied, tell you the truth, 15 years ago I decided that I really should stop making these visits to you. But each year as I approached your door, I would see the Yetzer Hara going right in before me to harden your heart not to give. I said to myself, if Satan can be so persevering to come year after year to harden your heart not to give, at least I can do is to show equal devotion to my cause of tzedakah and keep coming back to ask you to give. Who knows, perhaps this year Satan forgot to come, or he may have done a bad job and your heart would have a chance to be opened. Very interesting, very nice little story that's
fantastic.
And yeah, I think that's it for this Mishna.
Wow, that's incredible. Very, very good. Very, very amazing things you said, Michael. I should enjoy listening back to that. Thank you, Michael. So until then, next time we're going to be doing the 21st Mishnah, as we're now on the final lap of the third Perek, and that will be Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. Okay, so until then, we wish you to have a wonderful and blessed week.